Almost three-quarters of millennials are living paycheck to paycheck, notably higher than other generations, according to a new report. PYMNTS, which reports on financial news and data, and the financial services company Lending Club collaborated to release a report entitled New Reality Check the Paycheck to Paycheck Report to learn consumers' financial situations broken down into the different generations. The survey found 60.1% of consumers were living paycheck to paycheck last month, including 73.2% of millennials. Meanwhile, 65.5% of Generation Z consumers and 64.2% of Generation X were living paycheck to paycheck, but only 49.5% of baby boomers and senior citizens were. The most cited reason for all respondents who said they were living paycheck to paycheck was that their paycheck only covers basic bills, with 38.4% saying so. More than a quarter of respondents also said they are in the situation because they need to pay for expenses for other family members and have significant debts to pay. About 30% of millennials cited each of these reasons as well. The survey found more than 70% of millennials live with a partner or spouse, and more than 60% live with children or grandchildren. Almost 80% earn more than half of their household's income, while 20% earn all of it. But the research did find that millennials appear to be learning to manage finances more effectively, as they had an average saving of $11,000 last month compared to $7,300 one year prior. The report states that millennials and other paycheck to paycheck consumers learn to handle finances through recessions and financial crises. The report also found Generation Z consumers trending up in the percentage living paycheck to paycheck. The almost 66% recorded last month is an 8-point increase from the year before. It states that many of these consumers are still establishing their careers and might be more likely to spend on discretionary purchases like eating out and entertainment. Generation Z consumers are the most likely to cite discretionary spending as the reason they are living paycheck to paycheck, with 31% saying so. But almost 40% said the main cause of living paycheck to paycheck is that their salary only covers their basic expenses. With inflationary pressures expected to continue well in 2024, consumers of all generations remain tasked with adjusting their financial behaviors to be able to put aside savings and remain credit worthy, the report concludes. The Hill meant results, but they put resulted. The results were gathered from March 8th to 17th based on a census balance survey of 3,363 U.S. consumers. It was roughly 4 months ago that I did the 63% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck video. And I knew when I did the video that things were probably just going to get worse. And I hate giving anecdotal evidence because sometimes people do that when they're trying to like make the case of why things aren't as bad as I believe that they are. But I don't know anyone personally who is under the age of 40 that's just able to take care of themselves and lives by themselves and is able to pay all their stuff. I haven't met someone that's like, and I'm sure those people exist, but even those I know who've gone to college are still living with their parents or some other guardian-esque figure who pays for the place that they live in. Now, the article touched on a couple things I want to kind of go over here. It mentions that more than a quarter of respondents said they are in a situation because they need to pay for expenses for other family members and have significant debts to pay. When they say significant debts, the first thing that came to my mind is college debts, which can balloon into thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that a lot of people just do not have. And that's one of the reasons why I supported free college and why I support raising wages, because income inequality is something that politicians almost never talk about. These statistics you most certainly won't see on cable news or CNN or any of these other networks, and they're so telling of how garbage a system like this is. You know, like what do you say about the richest country in the world and its newest generation that's able to work over 75% live paycheck to paycheck. Or excuse me, almost 75%, nearly three quarters. I got it wrong. It was 73, but I'm only off by 2 points. But what do you say when almost three-fourths of the newest generation that can work live paycheck to paycheck, and that's even when they live with someone else? See, people throw around the word, because I already explained with my own situation that one of the issues I've run into in my never-ending quest to get a job is that a lot of places don't hire someone full time, or they have hire to fire where they get rid of somebody over anything after 2, 3, 4 weeks. A lot of people throw around the word socialist. You believe in socialism. You believe in the government running everything and taxing everybody. And the sad thing is that term is, I've explained before, just a little buzzword to not address any of the actual policy proposals. But I said, when they talk about the expenses of other family members, I feel like you can reasonably infer that's probably having to do with medical situations. If you're living with an older person, they might have some kind of condition. If you have kids, the same thing. And if we had single payer, where people get taxed more, but again, they save money in the long run because they don't have to be paid additional prices every time they go to the doctor. And if we had higher wages, I think things would be significantly better. Oh, and if we had free college as well, which I already explained, that I think having someone who's trying to work a job and pay off college debt and help out other people that they're living with various expenses, whether that's having to do with food or their health, and then also trying to pay for wherever they live in. It's just too much. But I just don't think a majority of people understand how bad this stuff is, or that a lot, because we talked before about voters who vote against their own self-interest. But you don't think it's sad that a statistic like this comes out, and not only are you not going to see it talked about on TV, but then you're not going to see any in-depth discussion on it, because we think about how the minimum wage hasn't been increased in 14 years. Again, record levels of student loan debt. And I'm supposed to believe that these things aren't playing a factor in people living paycheck to paycheck and struggling like never before. Look at how the cards are decked against millennials. If you get out of high school and you're told to go to a college that more often than not wants, at a minimum, several thousands of dollars for you to go to, which a lot of us do not have after getting out of school and probably never having worked before. So you take out, if you're not able to get your parents to pay for it, some loans. And then after you get out and you get your piece of paper that you hope is going to save the day, you now have to get a job while also trying to pay off the loans that you accumulated while trying to get the piece of paper that was going to get you the better job, the supposedly better job. And again, it's what, I'm not supposed to look at that as if it's a scam and that's rigged against me. That I'm asked to pay for something that with money I don't have, and then for several years to possibly decades after getting out of school pay for it even more while trying to manage living somewhere and work. I mean, it's crap. It's crap. And look, I'm not even trying to have some capitalism discussion, but don't come around telling me that this is a great economic system and the newest generation that can work, 7/10 of them live paycheck to paycheck. Because if the situation was so great and amazing, we would see the reverse. It would be maybe like 20%, 30%. No, it's a majority, and that's the good great system that we need to keep around and keep and make sure sticks around. Yeah, like I said, you won't see any of these conservatives talking about raising wages or reducing the cost of medicine or doctor if they're not going to do single payer, having a public option. But you know what you'll see? Let's cut taxes and talk about the booming economy where a majority of people in it, if they don't get a check every week, they're screwed. But that's the brilliant economic system that we need to keep in place. It's so helpful to everyone's life, except when it isn't.